Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine you're deep in the trenches, right? Enterprise automation. Specifically navigating IBM Cloud Pak for business automation. It's, powerful, intricate stuff, a platform designed to streamline everything from content services to workflow. But like any really complex system, getting it set up right, managing it day to day, keeping it resilient, it can be a bit of a puzzle. Today, we're embarking on a fascinating deep dive using a pretty unique lens, excerpts from an exam practice guide for the IBM Cloud Pak for Business Automation C1000-150 exam, actually. Now, hold on. We're not here to cram for a test or anything. Instead, we're using these expertly crafted questions and their explanations as a kind of surgical tool to cut through the complexity and pull out the most important practical nuggets, the operational wisdom about what really makes this system hum or, sometimes stutter.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how these seemingly really specific technical questions, they unlock a much broader understanding, a more critical view of the real-world challenges and the solutions involved in managing such a robust, interconnected system. So we'll be diving into crucial aspects like, the foundational planning, the installation steps, the nuances of security, which are always key, how to troubleshoot effectively when things inevitably go sideways, ensuring the system's resilience, and of course, the essential day-to-day management tasks. It's really about getting to the why behind the what.
Absolutely. Let's start right at the beginning then, the foundations, getting things set up and keeping them compliant. Because
Yeah.
when you're dealing with a system like Cloud Pak for business automation, it's got so many different modules, right? Tracking usage is just crucial. For compliance, sure, but also for cost efficiency.
Yeah.
So for anyone managing the system, what's the core service component, the one that actually does the heavy lifting of managing and reporting on licensing across all those modules?
Ah, right. That would be the licensed service reporter. You got to know about that one. It's basically your single pane of glass for all things licensing within the POG. Its core function is to collect and report that license usage data across all the different bits and pieces that make up your deployment. And look, this isn't just about avoiding a compliance headache, though that's vital, obviously. Big fines otherwise.
Definitely want to avoid those.
Yeah, but it's also a really powerful tool for strategic planning. You can see if you're over-provisioning licenses, maybe underutilizing certain components, and then use that data to optimize your spend, find unused capacity, maybe forecast future needs more accurately. It kind of turns what could be a burden into a real cost-saving opportunity. Yeah.
That's a great point, actually, turning compliance into strategy. It reminds you that even the seemingly admin details have a bigger impact. But okay, before we even get to that point, before you deploy Cloud Pak for business automation on OpenShift, which for anyone maybe less familiar, that's Red Hat's enterprise Kubernetes platform, super powerful. There are some non-negotiable prerequisites, things you just have to do first. And one of them is absolutely critical for components that need to share data, which is, pretty common in a system like this. What's that crucial setup step, the one that often becomes a sort of hidden stumbling block if you don't nail it early?
Oh, yeah. This raises a really important question about foundational infrastructure, something teams can easily overlook. You absolutely positively must configure a storage class with read-write-many access. RWX access.
RWX.
It's non-negotiable. Without it, certain components simply won't be able to share persistent volumes across multiple pods. Think of it like this, right? If you have multiple people trying to edit the same shared document at the exact same time, but the file system only lets one person in at a time, it just won't work.
Right, it breaks down.
Exactly. Cloud Pak's components, especially the ones handling shared content or workflow states, they need simultaneous access from multiple places to the same storage. Skipping this step, it means your critical automations will likely fail at a very fundamental level. And often with those really frustrating, hard-to-diagnose intermittent errors, the kind that can genuinely paralyze things for days.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's a classic case.
Yeah.
Small oversight, massive headaches down the line.
That's a really good analogy. Those intermittent errors, yeah, they're the worst because they're so hard to pin down. And speaking of things not functioning properly, debugging. When you're trying to figure out application errors, especially in a specific module, like, say, the application engine,
Yeah.
you need to be able to pull every last scrap of information out of the system sometimes. So what's the log level, the one that gives you that incredibly fine-grained output for really deep, intricate debugging? And how do admins manage those levels efficiently? You don't want to be doing it manually everywhere, right?
Right. For the absolute most detailed output, you need the trace log level. No question. Trace captures incredibly fine-grained events, internal operations. It gives you a microscopic view of what's happening inside. which is, essential for diagnosing those really complex, elusive issues.
Okay, trace. Got it.
Now, imagine, like you said, having to individually log into every single service
Yeah.
and manually bump that level up to trace, then back down.
Oh, what a nightmare.
Yeah.
Especially during an outage.
Exactly. It'd be terrible. Thankfully, the source material points out that administrators can centrally manage logging levels for multiple automation services. Using the Logging Configuration Custom Resource, the CR, this lets you dynamically adjust levels, INFO, debug, trace, whatever, without needing to restart pods, which makes log management much more efficient and less disruptive, especially when you're, in the heat of trying to fix something critical.
That central management sounds like an absolute lifesaver, especially when you're trying to quickly switch between high-level info and then drilling way, way down.
Yeah.
Now, let's pivot a bit. Talk about building out those automation workflows, because not everyone on a business team wants to write complex code, right? Or even learn deep programming languages. Cloud Pak aims to sort of democratize automation, make it more accessible. So, which key component within the pack is specifically designed for defining these complex workflows using a more visual, low-code interface?
That's the Business Automation Studio. That's your spot. It's really the creative hub for automation design within the Cloud Pak. It provides this web-based, low-code interface. Users can visually design and orchestrate complex workflows, define business decisions, even set up intelligent document processing logic. And the beauty of it is it empowers, business analysts, subject matter experts, not just developers, to create really powerful automations.
Without needing tons of code.
Exactly. Without needing to write extensive code. It really bridges that gap between the business need and the technical implementation. Speeds things up too.
That's fantastic. Making powerful tools accessible like that is always a win. But, okay, once those automations are built and deployed, we absolutely have to talk security, specifically how users get into the system securely. The User Management Service, UMS, that's central to identity management in Cloud Pak, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Central piece.
So what are the two main authentication protocols that the IBM Cloud Pak UMS supports? And maybe more practically, if you're integrating with an existing corporate directory, like most companies would, what are the two most crucial parameters you absolutely need to get right?
Good question. So the UMS is built for enterprise integration. It supports both LDAP for connecting to your traditional enterprise directories. Think Microsoft Active Directory.
The standard.
Yeah, the standard. And also OpenID Connect or OIDC for more modern federated authentication methods. This flexibility is really key for fitting into different corporate environments. Now, when you're hooking Cloud Pak up to your corporate LDAP server for secure user access, the two critical parameters you must configure correctly are, first, the LDAP host and port.
Makes sense. Where the server lives.
That's exactly. Tells Cloud Pak where to find your directory server. And second, the base DN. That's the base distinguished name. The base DN is crucial because it defines the exact starting point within your potentially huge directory tree, where Cloud Pak should begin looking for the users and groups that need access. Get the base DN wrong. It's like telling the system to look for an address in the wrong city. Yeah. Leads to frustrating login failures, complex troubleshooting, all for what's basically a simple config error.
Wow. It sounds like the base DN is one of those tiny details with, like, huge consequences if you mess it up. Okay, so once everything's deployed, users can log in, things are running, we move into operational excellence, right? Keeping an eye on performance, health. OpenShift, as we mentioned, is the underlying platform. So which OpenShift tool is the sort of go-to recommendation for collecting metrics? Crucial things like CPU and memory usage of your Cloud Pak pods.
Right, for monitoring those vital signs. The standard, highly recommended tool in OpenShift for collecting metrics like CPU, memory, network usage, that's Prometheus. It integrates seamlessly with the Cloud Pak, provides a robust time series database for performance stats, usage stats for all your pods and services. For administrators, this means you're not just seeing raw numbers, you're getting crucial insights, spotting resource consumption patterns, identifying potential bottlenecks before they cause trouble.
Yeah.
Exactly. Making sure your applications are running efficiently. It's really essential for keeping the system healthy and performant.
Prometheus. That sounds like the essential dashboard for any admin running this stuff. But, even with great monitoring, sometimes things still go wrong. Let's consider a classic, tricky troubleshooting situation. An administrator sees that FileNet pods, those are the components doing content services, document management within Cloud Pak.
Core pod.
They're stuck in an init state, just stuck initializing. This is a pretty common sign of a specific type of underlying problem, right? Especially involving secrets. What's the most probable cause for pods getting jammed up like this due to a missing secret?
Oh, yeah. This is a classic facepalm moment in IT operations sometimes. And it raises an important point about pod initialization within Kubernetes itself.
Mm.
The most probable cause, especially if they're stuck in it and secrets are suspected, it's almost always that the required image pull secret was not created or maybe not configured correctly.
Ah, the image pull secret.
Yeah, without that specific secret, which is basically just the credentials needed to authenticate against your private container registries, the pod simply cannot download the container images it needs to even begin starting up properly.
Mm.
I've seen teams, honestly, pull their hair out for hours debugging network stuff, application configs.
Been there.
Yeah, only to realize, hours later, they forgot that one simple image pull secret. It's a perfect example of how the smallest configuration mistake can bring a really complex system completely to its knees.
That's a perfect illustration, yeah. How critical those foundational pieces are, even something that seems small like a secret. Okay, finally, let's talk about keeping the system available. Resilience, even when unexpected things happen. So, in a multi-zone OpenShift cluster where you have your compute resources spread across different physical locations for better resilience.
Right, standard practice for HA.
Which specific configuration mechanism enables Cloud Pak components to remain available to keep running, even if there's a node failure within one of those zones?
Okay, so to ensure high availability, to keep your Cloud Pak components robust in that kind of multi-zone setup, the pod disruption budget, or PDB, is absolutely critical. You need to know about PDBs.
Pod disruption budget. Okay.
It's an OpenShift feature, and it ensures that a minimum number of pods for a given application stay available even during voluntary disruptions. Think things like node maintenance, graceful node shutdowns, maybe scaling operations, planned stuff.
Ah,
Yeah.
so for planned disruptions mostly.
Primarily, yes. This mechanism is key to maintaining service availability and preventing downtime across your zones during those planned events. Now, while PDBs are vital for handling voluntary disruptions, it's also important to remember they're just one piece of the bigger HA puzzle, right? For true multi-zone resilience against involuntary failures, like a whole zone going offline, suddenly you'd also need robust persistent storage strategies, data replication across zones.
Disaster recovery plans.
Exactly. Comprehensive DR plans. But PDBs ensure your application can gracefully tolerate those planned changes, stopping cascading failures during maintenance. They're crucial.
Hopefully, this deep dive has given you, listening, a real shortcut to being well-informed, highlighting those surprising facts and crucial nuances that honestly often get overlooked in the day-to-day rush, and maybe something for you to mull over. Considering how seemingly small details like we discussed, a specific logging level or a single missing secret can have such a massive, cascading, even catastrophic impact on a complex system's functionality and your ability to troubleshoot it. What seemingly minor configuration in your own technical environment, whatever that might be holding the most hidden power, or maybe the most potential risk, just waiting there to be uncovered.